And I've titled this episode because of that, Coalition versus APC. Is it going to be a new era or same old story?
The APC was described as an association of desperate criminals.
If we're going to be sincere with ourselves, the coalition is a coming together of aggrieved politicians. There is Atiku, become president or die trying Nigerian. There is who was
that it's a coalition of spent politicians. You see the coalition of ideology. I mean, it's so strange. I'm sure even a 5-year-old child who can speak very well will tell you that it's not a coalition of ideology.
Office holders who are trying to get back into power. ADC is actually 10 years old. It was formed in 2005. And they've had presidential candidates in all the elections since 2007. No, but the difference is, all these people really have political influence at the moment. Now, as big as Atiku is coming to the coalition without a state governor. Peter Obi does not have a state governor.
Coalition of Nigerians or politicians who were part of, quote and unquote, the said destruction that they are complaining about. Those who were active participants in the destruction of the Nigerian space are now the ones coming to think to us that they want to have a coalition to save Nigerians. I mean, there are stories making the rounds that there are litigations as to the leadership of the vehicle that they are trying to use. Because I mean, like we call it a commercial balance, this is literally APC has become like an SPV. It's literally like a special purpose vehicle that they're just trying to use.
So now this is not a fight against APC. It is simply a fight against one man, Tinubu. Instance, we had Peter Obi in Labour Party, whom him and his obedient, called every other person except, Obi, all sort of names. And Atiku might have to, relinquish his interest for a Peter Obi. If they can do that, they might be able to, now reach Nigerians to say, oh, we did that to save the country. And we'll be
Hello everyone, you're welcome again to another exciting episode of the Debo Talk Show. And I want to say a big thanks to everyone who has consistently, supported the brand by liking, by sharing and commenting on the episodes. Please continue to do that as it gives us more encouragement to do more. As we are continuing to get into political seasons in Nigeria, I have brought back my friends and brothers to discuss on a certain political issue that manifested within a couple of days. And what was that issue? If you're in Nigeria and environs, you would know that a new political party has emerged and they called it a coalition. And what is this party trying to do? They are all set to dethrone the existing government of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And I've titled this episode because of that, Coalition versus APC. Is it going to be a new era or same old story? I'm being joined today by my two amazing brothers, Kayode Badmus, who is a political scientist and a media strategist. Kayode would help us uncover an history of how coalition parties have been formed in Nigeria and what might potentially happen in 2027. Also, I am Kayode, you are welcome to the Debo Talk Show.
It feels good to be back, and I hope I know it's gonna be an exciting episode as usual. Thank you for having me once again.
Thank you. And obviously, again, I'm joined by my legal luminary brother, Banji Adeyeye. Banji is an entertainment lawyer, but a social commentator and a political activist to some extent. Banji will help us uncover legal implications and political structuring perspectives on how feasible this coalition is going to be in 2027. Banji, again, you're welcome to another round of the Debo Talk Show with you both.
Thank you very much, Debo. It's good to be here again.
All right, so we're just going to get to it now. Now, I will start first of all with we already know a coalition has been formed, but just for viewers out there who probably haven't had the time to take a peek into what the new coalition is about, let's start with the basics. What do we know so far about the coalition? Who are the key players involved in this political alliance? Very briefly, let's start with Kayode Badmus.
Okay, without wasting time, I'll just mention some of the players. And okay, there is Atiku, the become president or die trying Nigerian. There is who was a PDP candidate in the last election. There's Peter Obi of Labour Party. There's El Rufai, immediate past governor of Kaduna State. There's Rao Farid-Beshola, former Minister of Interior, former governor of Osun State. There is David Mark, former Senate president, former military man, and a couple of others. Basically, if we are not going to be biased, if we are going to be sincere with ourselves, the coalition is a coming together of aggrieved politicians, like politicians that are presently not in office, not in power. So I'll just leave it at that. They are all former office holders who are trying to get back into power.
Okay, so I want to piggy on what you just said now. Now, what is any different from what these guys are doing now compared to what the present party in Nigeria, the All Progressive Party, what is any different from what they did in 2013 when the All Progressive Party formed? At that time, the All Progressive Party, before it was formed, had the ACN, Action Congress of Nigeria, had CPC, Congress of Progressive, whatever it was at the time. It had a faction of APGA, and then the new PDP. These four parties came in to become APC, and well, at that time, okay, let me have you answer the question. What exactly?
So the major difference is this. Yeah, in 2013, when the APC was formed, it was actually also to wrestle power from PDP. However, here's the major difference. No, to start with, you mentioned something about a new political party being formed, ADC. No, ADC is actually 10 years old. It was formed in 2005. And they've had presidential candidates in all the elections since 2007. No, since 2007. At some point, Patutomi was even their presidential candidate. So, but the difference is this. In 2013, what we saw was a coming together of political powerhouse forces, people that had a whole lot of incumbent factors. So, for instance, the major players of 2013 were like an Asiwaju Tinubu from Lagos, who was coming with the governor, the current governor of Lagos at the time, Fashola. There was Oshoba. There was I'm picking from the parties. We had ACN, Tinubu's ACN, and they had about 3 or 4 governors, from the southwest and then Edo State. Then we had new PDP, which consisted of Saraki and the likes. And most of them were sitting governors, or they had their state governors, in their camp.
Okay.
The John Oyegus, even from the likes of Atiku.
Abga was also had a sitting governor in Rogers Okorocha at the time.
So that was the thing. We had current office holders, and when they came into power, it was easy for them to, maneuver their way and get the grassroots involved and get real votes, in real time. Now, coming back to 2025, and then something similar. Well, I think they're trying to borrow from, the now, if I'm permitted to put it, the Asiwaju textbook of 2013. But the difference is, all these people really have political influence at the moment. Now, as big as Atiku is coming to the coalition without a state governor. Peter Obi does not have a state governor. The only governor his party has, Labour Party, which is Abia State, has said he's not going. He's staying back in Labour Party to, build the party. So, at the moment, I have not seen, I hope I'm not mistaken, I've not seen any current office holder be part of that coalition.
Okay.
Even El Rufai's son remains in APC. David Mark's daughter remains in APC. So these are, the intricacies we have to look at, which
Valid point.
differentiates,
Valid point. Valid point, Kay. Thank you as always. I want to switch it up to Banji now, just because of time. So, what does this coalition seek to achieve beyond displacing the APC? I mean, in your opinion, Barrister Adeyeye, do you think it's an ideology-driven purpose, or it's simply just an anti-APC alliance? What do you think?
Okay, before I just quickly go into that question, I was just taking off from where Kayode actually stopped.
Okay.
I mean, I saw something not too long ago, like a cartoon, and the ADC was described as an association of desperate criminals. It was a cartoon. I mean, so the point is, for me, I think that it's a coalition of spent politicians. When I mean spent, I mean those who look at everybody. Atiku Abubakar left office in 2007. He has struggled. He's moved around all the parties to become president. He has failed at that. David Mark, person who was Senate president, who has lost his re-election bid. He's not been in office for a while. Rotimi Amechi, who lost, who was governor of Rivers for 8 years. And I mean, after the 8 years, really could not, became persona non grata in the state where he ruled. So it's really more of a coalition of, I think, desperate and spent politicians. Now, what's the issue? Is it a coalition of ideology? I mean, it's so strange. I'm sure even a 5-year-old child who can speak very well will tell you that it's not a coalition of ideology. There's actually no ideology. Look at the sets of the persons who are the front row runners of this coalition. I'll begin from the most popular of them, which is Alhaji Atiku Abubakar. Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, if you ask me, I do not see any ideology around Alhaji Atiku Abubakar. He's been was a vice president under the platform of the PDP. He ran to run election under the platform of the ACN. He had also moved from ACN. He went to join the coalition. He went back to PDP. Then at the point of the coalition in 2013, he came into APC to run elections in APC, and then ran away again from APC and ran back to PDP for election. And then he's back here. So obviously, looking at that, there's really no ideology in that. And Amechi, for what? Amechi was the governor. He's been speaker and was governor under the People's Democratic Party. He left. He was part of the new PDP, those who formed the APC that we have today. He's left APC. Now he's leaving APC because obviously he's not been able to have his hands in the cookies, or his hand is not in the pot. It's not relevant in terms of today's political landscape. So, I mean, Zimalam El-Rufai, who has also come in from, I think, from PDP to CPC to APC and now back to. So looking at all the key players, all the frontliners in this coalition, it is not, in my opinion, a coalition of ideology. Like I wrote on the platform when we were discussing this, and I said, look, it's just a coalition of, Nigerians or politicians who were part of, quote unquote, the said destruction that they are complaining about, those who were active participants in the destruction of the Nigerian space, and now they want coming to say to us that they want to have a coalition to save Nigerians. So again, I'll just wrap up by saying it is not a coalition of ideology.
Not a coalition of ideology. Okay, as valid points from Barrister Adeyeye there. Thank you as always. I'll stay with you, Banji, and we will switch it up a little bit to from a legal and political structuring perspective. How feasible is this coalition holding till 2027?
Well, nothing is really cast in concrete. I don't want to say, I don't want to predict some things, but as it were, as every Nigerian, they have a right to freedom of association, which is what they come together to, form that coalition and then using an existing party. But to my mind, I am not very clear about this now. I mean, there are stories making the rounds that there are litigations as to the leadership of the vehicle that they are trying to use. Because, I mean, like we call it a commercial parlance, this is literally, APC has become like an SPV. It's literally like a special purpose vehicle that they're just trying to use to, achieve, for each of the persons who are involved to achieve their own political aim. Now, if the party currently is enmeshed in litigation as to leadership, then what comes to my mind is the fate that has befallen, that is currently befalling PDP might be the same thing that ADC might actually have to face.
Mm.
The immediate past flag bearer, presidential flag bearer of the party, we've heard and listened to his press conference talking about, leadership who is trying to hand over the party structure, as it were, to the new members who are coming in. He's not, the rightful, party chairman. So if that is the case, it means that the coalition first would have to deal with the issue of litigation. And if I understand well what has happened with the PDP, I see what is currently happening to PDP will happen to them. There will be the crisis of who is the proper national chairman. And don't forget that if there are issues around this, it is going to actually affect them at the primaries. Because at primaries, some of the issues that we had, some of the things that happened in Zamfara at the time, where someone who won an election actually lost his seat because he wasn't so-called validly nominated by the party. Because there were leadership crises and the chairman, so the question will be, who is signing who's for? Who is sending names to INEC? So if they have that issue and they are unable to deal with that issue decisively, then I think they have a lot of legal issues to face, even if they end up bringing a flag bearer that might be competitive to fight, to slug it out with the current president, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed, in 2027.
All right. Hopefully they get their house sorted and they deal with legal issues. Switching it back to Kayode. You've been involved in a lot of media narratives, a lot of media campaigns, rather, political campaigns in the past. Ideally, what kind of key messaging strategy should this coalition adopt if they were to have a chance in 2027 to sway Nigerian voters for Nigeria?
So, to start with, the party already has challenges. They have moral challenges coming from wherever they're coming from. Because when you look at the trajectory of the last 12 months. We saw El-Rufai go to SDP, and he announced, SDP is the new SPV, like Banji mentioned earlier. And then we're expecting people to start, joining SDP. Then those within SDP said, no, we want our party. We don't want you strangers to come and, cause commotion within our party. And they were pushed out. Then they went to ADA, that was, freshly formed. And of course, there were crises around that again. And then they landed in ADC. Personally, I think the motive behind them going to ADC has to do with the involvement of former President Obasanjo in that party. So for those who know, they know Obasanjo has interests in ADC.
So is Obasanjo technically supporting this aggrieved politician?
I believe so, because he's also not. He's also not on the same page with the president. So now this is not a fight against APC. It is simply a fight against one man, Tinubu. And again, like I said, there are moral questions here. El-Rufai helped, bring Tinubu into power, and he was nominated to become minister. Afterwards, he went for the screening, but he was left out. Immediately, after he didn't get it, he started fighting. Amechi contested in the primaries. He lost out. Well, he tried, though. I think he was second. He even had more votes than the vice president at the time. And immediately after the election and everything, he started throwing tantrums, and now he's saying he's poor, he's broke, he's hungry and stuff. So the thing is, the challenge is these guys they've lost the moral, capacity to even talk to Nigerians. So it's going to be a very difficult tour, because, for instance, we had Peter Obi in Labour Party, whom him and his obedient, called every other person except, Obi, all sort of names. People like El-Rufai, we remember what Aisha Yesufu said about El-Rufai. So these are the issues. So already the people are bringing out these issues. And I think if ADC in any way wants to save face and they think they really want to reach out to Nigerians, they should rather, play it down. And Atiku might have to, relinquish his interest for a Peter Obi. If they can do that, they might be able to, now reach Nigerians to say, we did that to save the country, and we believe this man. So it means Nigerians should see the fact that there's no desperation to get into office among these guys. They should try as much as possible to have their primaries smooth, like effortless, for show lack of desperation. And I think with that, they might be able to pass the right signal to Nigeria. But when Nigeria don't see like desperation, an article playing dirty, the way the dollar spending that we saw, in the APC when the article was trying to win the primaries, and then the likes of Asiwaju Arutimi Amechi had to match up for Buhari. So there are a lot of intricacies that has to be settled before they can even think of what message, how they want to reach out to Nigerians. Because right now, all these guys are people who have been part of the mess, that Nigeria have gotten into. They've been in power, like all of them, like just, individually, and collectively, and they've not changed anything. So now it's very difficult to now say, forgive us. When we had the time, we didn't fix things, but if we get the opportunity now, we might be able to fix things. So they have to be very careful and look for a way to play around, the intelligence of Nigerians by maybe bringing forth a Peter Obi. Then they can now think of, passing that message of want to rescue Nigeria. But the way the ADC is currently constituted, I don't see them having any moral justification to say they want to rescue Nigeria.
Interesting. But again, with the way the politics has been so far, with massive defections from the erstwhile leading opposition party, the PDP, to the APC, and even with rumors that more defections will still play, do we think that the formation of ADC is good for democracy in terms of bringing a vibrant opposition? Because right now the role of opposition from the PDP looks to be dwindling, if not completely dwindled, because they don't even have, they're not really out there tackling the government of the day, which people feel like APC is trying to create a one-party state to deprive other people from contesting. So with the formation of ADC, do we think it brings a bit of vibrancy to our democracy? Let's switch it to Banji Adeyeye on this one.
Okay, I think that the first thing is I do not agree with the philosophy or with the statements that the APC is trying to build a one-party state.
Why?
The role of APC is to ensure that APC is APC and APC keeps winning election.
Okay.
APC would not leave its job as being the ruling party to help build an opposition.
So the
opposition has to build itself.
Question for you. Sorry, BJ, allegations. Yeah. These are allegations, but we read it on social media.
Debo, in his June 12 speech, the president said something. He said he's in to win elections, he's in to win, and he is happy the opposition parties are in disarray. He's not going to go there to fix it for them. If Peter Obi could not fix the crisis in Labour Party, absolutely. Is it Tinubu's fault?
That's the thing. You see, the thing is, a lot of us are Nigerians. We've got into a state that we're just carried away by a lot of sentiments. If the job of the press of APC is to spread their news and bring more people into their net as best as they can, the job of the opposition is to show to Nigerians that, look, this party is not good for us. This party is not doing this well with policies. When have you seen so-called opposition elements discuss policy issues in Nigeria? The other day I was listening to Amechi rambling on TV. When Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the APC of us were in the opposition, we knew what opposition was. Whatever name you want to call it, they played their game. They're against all odds, federal might and all of what you can call. They did what they should do. So the truth about it is, either it is ADC or whatever it is, what I see or what I've always said is the fact that the bulk of those who have found themselves in opposition have been Nigerian sports politicians who have been used to being in the driving seat from beginning. So they are still not able, even after 8 years of being in opposition, to grapple and understand what opposition is exactly. They are just all thinking about, we need to get ourselves into the box. We need to get back to government. We need to grab this government by every means. And the truth is, I'm yet to see that opposition. APC, as it were, is still a conglomerate of this same set of people that left PDP. What would change? I am yet to see that which would change. I do not see a person like an Alhaji Atiku. I will be surprised. Even Alhaji Atiku Abubakar possibly jettison his presidential ambition, his long life ambition to be president of Nigeria for whoever. Or a Peter Obi will jettison his ambition. And Amechi is also interested in becoming president. And El-Rufai is there. So if these tendencies continue, their interest is not actually to play the role of opposition, to criticize the government, to be very critical of the government, of its policies, of its decisions, for the good of the people. It is more about what they want. You can see on the undertone is that it's about what they want. I listen to all of these persons every time, and I'm yet to see them critically analyze Nigeria's issues or critically analyze any government policy. It is about APC is bad, the president is bad, and that is all about it. So the president of the party, the ruling party, will not help, the opposition to do its job. I really hope that, these persons would first of all, for the sake of Nigerians that they claim to love, which I do not believe, would jettison their personal interests, roll their sleeves, do the work. The APC today was in opposition for over 16 years. Built it, became very critical of the government, and they got to be in office in 2015. So with just pulling yourself and going into a political party would not automatically make you a strong opposition. So it would be great and it would be nice to see that this person's first jettison their personal interest, which is the driving force that I see in all of the front runners, or all of the persons involved in this coalition. Jettison that, and then properly roll their sleeves and do the real work of the opposition.
So, in a nutshell, any of you can take this. You guys feel like ego clashes are imminent in this coalition. You guys feel like it's almost impossible for them to have a united front to present the most reliable, or the candidates in which Nigerians would prefer to really test the waters.
If you look at the antecedents of each and every of these individuals, and I'll pick one after the other. Atiku has moved parties severally, all for his interest. Once his interest is not met here, he moves to the other place. So what does he clearly show us? If I'm going to take it from, their antecedents, is a man who is more about self-interest. The almighty Obi, Peter Obi, same thing. He left Abga after I had sworn that he was never going to leave Abga. Left Abga, ran into PDP, became the vice presidential candidate. He couldn't win the election, ran into Labour Party, left Labour Party in disarray, and is running into ADC. The answer of the man is, it is just about what I want or nothing. Isn't an El-Rufai? Same person. We know El-Rufai to be interesting, brilliant man that I respect his intellect. But the thing is, whatever is not in his favor, he will jump and he will cry foul. That has been himself from his days from PP, from working under the Atiku, to writing the book as how bad Atiku was, to have moved to Obasanjo, now to Buhari, now to... So all of these front runners, the antecedent is that I would be surprised, and it would be good for Nigerians that they would, at least for once, drop their personal interest or their egos, which I think is going to be difficult for all of them, because they all seem to me as just desperate and they all want to be Nigeria's president. And the reality is that only one person will be Nigeria's president.
At the end of the day.
At the end of the day.
At the end of the day.
I was going to make a remark on your last question about what it is for our polity, the fact that opposition is dwindling, and these guys are. So as a political scientist, I believe it is good for Nigeria's democracy that at least powerful forces are coming together to wrestle power from the incumbent. Because, like you said, it might not be good to have a one-party system and stuff. However, South Africa, last I checked, ANC has been in government since forever. Nobody is crying that, and South Africa is supposed to be more civilized or more developed than Nigeria in, certain indices. But the fact remains that one party has been in government since the time of Mandela, like since the what's it called, abolition of the
1994.
since the
Yeah.
abolition of the apartheid regime.
Appetite.
But the fact remains that, like Banji mentioned, and I tried saying the other time, the incumbent will play politics the same way everybody wants to. He's going to do everything he can to win election. He's going to do everything he can to have everyone on his side. It is the job of the opposition to also, fix their own. Now, let me give you an example. The whole crisis that happened in Labour Party, a lot of people blamed it on Tinubu. Initially, they said APC had Apapa as a mole, within the APP, within the Labour Party. Now they are, and then they were using it to, protect, what's it called? Barrister, what's the Labour Party's chairman's name again?
Aburi.
Abure.
So, but again, in addition to
now,
that, the allegation again is that, if politicians have, maybe cases with the EFCC or their financial crimes, that they will be forgiven 100% if they move to a ruling party. Again, it's an allegation. We read it in the papers.
However, wait. What I'm trying to say here is, now Labour Party had internal crisis. Abure's tenure was over, according to those who were the leaders of Labour Party. And Apapa said he was taking over. Now, these guys said it was the APC that were actually causing the crisis. So now going into ADC, one would expect that they'll do things differently. Probably find a new party or find a party that is devoid of any crisis. So now they went into ADC that has an existing executive, and they are trying to, strangle power. Now, those ones will go to court and probably get, positive, favorable judgment. And now these guys will go to town to say, oh, it is APC that's trying to cause disarray and everything. So when you don't clean your own home properly, like Peter Obi failed to solve, or whatever, take care of the crisis in Labour Party and blamed it on the APC, we can now see the ADC also, going into that kind of situation. And at the end of the day, they'll blame it on, the ruling party. However, all these things is good for the polity. It is good for democracy. And the fact that ADC is now a formidable force also, it's good that the people have an option, unlike when you say, oh, Kukuku see viable opposition, let's just vote for them. But now, at least, the people have a viable option. So it is good for democracy.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for adding.
Are you hoping? You are hoping. We're not saying, sorry to just interject. We are hoping that ADC would give us that maybe viable option. All we have heard is just coalition. Since the day of announcement till date, I have yet to see. I'm yet to see really any movement or action. So we are hoping that coalition would give us that viable opposition that we hope to see as Nigerians.
All right. We have less than 3 minutes to wrap up the program. Again, thank you, both of you, Barrister Adeyeye and Kayode Badmus, for being guests on this show. I want to close with Banji, and I want to ask a final question. And both of you can share 30 seconds each if you want. Do you think APC has been weakened enough politically or economically for the coalition to be successful? A lot of people have argued that this country is worse under the President Tinubu regime compared to Buhari regime. Over to you guys.
Okay, well, for me, I think that, there are things we hope to see a better country. We hope to see better or more people-friendly economic policies. My own belief or my own take is that, the country has really there's been a lot of ruins in the country for many years. And to actually, recover from that ruins, we're actually going to pass through some pains. However, I feel the pain of Nigerians. I feel the pain. I see the pain out here. I think the ruling party can actually do a lot better to make life, a little bit better for, Nigerians. And all of those palliatives and those work of government should actually be driven to ensure that it really gets to those that it should get to. But in terms of the party being weakened, well, I don't think the party is weakened enough. Because if we go by the statistics of what politics is, we're having sitting governors now moving to the party. The indication is that they are apparently going to be strengthening the parties in the places where the party seem to be weak. You're having people moving from south, which was really on the base of the APC. So two governors from the south side has moved. Traditionally, Delta and Akwa Ibom have traditionally been an APC states. If they have moved from PDP, did not go to ADC or form the coalition, have moved to APC. I think it's further strengthening the APC. But for me, what is important is I want to see the polity improve. I want to see opposition being very critical of government and providing us a viable
opposition,
option, not just to come and abuse, but a viable option. And I really would say I want to see a better Nigeria for all of us, where the citizens are happier and their pockets are filled up more than is being trained with the correct economic trajectory that we find ourselves in.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Again, thank you, amazing guest, Banji Adeyeye, legal luminary, legal practitioner, and Kayode Badmus, political scientist and media enthusiast. Thank you both for being a guest on this episode. And until we meet again, it's a wrap on this one. Thank you and bye for now.